most underrated things that our new flyers do is learning how to loft fly their birds. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've experimented with things and done different things that I have proven. I'm not going by what I read or what what people are saying. I do, but I make my own decision when it comes down to what my birds are going to be doing for me. So if you look on the YouTube, you'll see a couple videos on there Romer put together, and you'll see that I'm big on genetics in the breeder loft. All the birds I fly are bred from my breeder loft. I don't bring in birds from anybody else to fly them for them. I don't get in one-off races right now. I'm a backyard flyer. And what I do with my birds is, starting with the breeder loft, the pigeons, there's superior pigeons, there are good pigeons, there are average pigeons, and there are bad pigeons. And the biggest majority of the pigeons that we fly are followers. I hate to say that, but that is very, very true. If you have 400 birds in a race, you're not going to see 400 birds hit town all together and everybody lose by a few seconds. You're going to see a handful of birds that are going to hit town. Those birds, the first group, are the ones that fly out front, and they dictate the direction of the flock. Whether you live on the peninsula or whether you live in Maple Valley, and everybody in between, that first flock is what I strive for, is to get my birds, as many as I can, in that flock. So it drives the direction. Now you have the wind that come out of the southwest, it's going to push the birds to the east, and it comes out of the southeast, it pushes the birds to the west. That's all fine. But when it comes down to it, those superior pigeons will come back and do that again the following week. And then you'll ship them again on the third week, and they'll do it again. And this is what I experienced in my team with my young birds this year. I started with 60 pigeons, and I put 60 in the first battleground, got them all back, and shipped the 60 to Salem, and I ended up with 46 out of 60 birds that came home. 76% or whatever that is. I wasn't happy about losing 14 birds, but I knew that a lot of people lost a lot more birds. And a lot of that was because their birds were not prepared for what was the task that was facing them. People don't put the loft flying part into their birds to where when they come out of that breeder loft, they go into that racing loft. They go in there separately by themselves. They're little babies. They're not in with older birds. They're just the little babies. So you don't have bullying going on. You just have all the same age. And then you slowly teach them to put them on the landing board, have them look around, have them fly around the loft. And you have to battle the raptors, which are waiting for them out there. Which, oh, by the way, in racing nowadays, the pigeons don't get to focus on just coming home. They have to focus on, first, they have to focus on staying alive. Knowing that they've been attacked multiple times prior to the race season. Hopefully, most of those attacks happened in your own yard or your neighborhood. Because if they happened 100 miles from home, you're going to be in big trouble. So the birds, once again, are not focused on their instinct that was given to them through the genetic breeding of top flying pigeons. These are racing birds. The racing birds are like I said, the birds that fly out front, week in and week out. And if you look at the results, you'll see probably 18, maybe 18 birds that are in the top 30 birds in the concourse that are from 4 or 5 different pair of breeders. These breeders have been cultivated for many, many years. Birds that I've gotten from Bruce Gordon, that have come from Serge Van Elsacker, Guy Van de Wara, Rick Cools, and these birds are cultivated into 3 or 4 different families that when I build a pedigree on a bird that's in the stock loft, the father must be a winner or breadwinners, the mother must be a winner or breadwinners, and all 4 grandparents have to either be winners or breadwinners. And I'm not talking about one-lot races, I'm talking about backyard racings, and I'm talking about multiple prizes, birds that win 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row. I've been doing this approximately 62 years, since I was, 12 years old or so. And what I've learned over the years is the pigeons can be taught. You have to teach them what you expect of them. And they're very, very smart. And if you follow what your birds are doing through observation, by letting them out, teaching them to loft fly, and I'm just going to tell you what my birds do, rather than try to explain everything I do to get them that way, but I'll work on some of that. But what they'll do is when I let my birds out, I train them little short tosses once they've been loft flying for approximately a month. And they're leaving the area, they're gone. When my birds go out, they head out, usually go south, and they're gone for a period of time. And then in a period of time, I might see them come back towards the loft, but they're not circling the yard. A lot of guys' birds will circle their yard, circle the trees, circle the yard. My little granddaughter would be out there getting dizzy when she's watching the birds circling around. These are the birds when they first learn to loft fly, and that's what they'll do. Once you got them on point for loft flying, open that hatch, out they go, they're gone. And they're going to go east, they're going to go west, they're going to go south, they're going to go north. And later on, after about a month or so, I will teach them to, I'll go and grab a basket of 5 or 6, then a basket of 5 or 6, take them out different directions, just a mile or so, just to kind of teach them confidence, teach them what the basket is, how the birds come home, all that kind of stuff. And I'm testing them. I'm not creating up 50 young birds and taking them down the road and have a disaster happen. I'm just testing a few. I want to know where they're at. So when they're loft flying and they all go out, let's say, typically I fly 45 to 55 young birds. This year I started with 60. But let's say I got 45. The 45, I'm going to watch all 45 and what they do when they come out of that loft. If there's a bird that, all the birds take off and the bird goes up and lands in a tree and sits there, I'm going to identify that bird. It's going to get a marker put on him, a little yellow band. And that's strike 1. And the rest of them do their thing, they fly and whatever. Later on, I'll let the birds out, and all of a sudden, 2 birds will come back after 10 minutes. They'll come back, circle down, go in the loft. They're going to get a marker, because the other birds are out doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're going to get a marker. So once you get enough markers on them, after a point, they either can have that marker removed if they straighten out, or they'll be removed from the race team, and they can do something different. So my theory behind that is I do not want to have 1, 2, or 3 birds affecting my 45 birds because of their bad habits and what they want to do. If they want to go land on the house or whatever. Now going back to the settling piece of the bird, I don't know if you've seen my video on YouTube, but I have a 4 by 20 landing strip that's in front of my loft that the birds are imprinted to come out of that breeder loft, go to the racing loft, come out onto that strip, and they learn that that's the only place they can land. Now, when things are first learning things, the birds are going to fly down on the concrete, they're going to fly up on the loft, the breeder loft, or the house, wherever. And that's okay to start with. But eventually I'll take a stick out there and I'll tap them on the roof, the metal roof of the loft, and let them know to be uncomfortable up there. And eventually, after a period of time, weeks or months or whatever, they will learn that the landing strip is where they have to land. And my birds, when they're out loft flying or racing, if I'm out on in the loft, I'll be in the yard looking for birds. Bruce is usually over at my house watching the birds come in as well. Jack has been over there to see. I got witnesses. These birds will dive for the landing board, hit that landing strip and that landing board. And if I'm standing out there, they'll knock my hat off. They'll come right through me, go into the loft. Well, what do you suppose they're in such a hurry to get in the loft for? What do you think that is? Anybody? Food. Food? Okay. That is incorrect. My birds are never starved. My birds are flown and imprinted. When they go out to loft fly, they go out. I have these little boards that go on the traps. And if they come down, there's an option. If the boards aren't on the traps, they can go in. If the boards are on the traps, they're not going in yet. So I can either tell them to go back up. I just say, let's go back a little bit farther. They're expecting me to say this by my voice. They will go back up to fly. This team this year never had to go back up to fly. They just went out and did what they had to do. And when it was time to go in, you better get out of the way. And they went in the loft, they got their drink, and then they walked over to the feed tray, and then they just kind of pick a little bit here and there. But in the morning, a small amount of safflower that usually is added to their feed, because I feed once a day in the evening. And in the evening, those birds get to eat all they want to eat, and then they go to sleep. And then during the night, they're digesting their food, and next morning, I'm going to go let them out. I always feed them at the same time, because if I feed them one day at 5 o'clock and one day at 1 o'clock, the day I feed them at 1 o'clock, they're going to be too hungry in the morning to fly. They're going to want to come down to eat. So I stay with the 5 o'clock timing, give or take a half hour. I mean, things can happen. So they're expecting from me the time they eat, the day they get a bath. That's in their built-in, imprinted into their little minds. The day they get a good grit, Juvati, which is a mineral grit, or the good the probiotics that are given to the birds to keep their gut in excellent shape. Because without a good gut on your young birds, you have nothing. Your birds have to have a good gut so that you keep the diseases away. You got to keep the bugs and the vermin away. Little drops of things you put on the back of their neck. You can buy those from the pigeon suppliers, and they'll last for months. Keep the bugs away. Observation out in the loft, you got to kind of watch what the birds do. Some birds like to sit on the bee perch. Some like to sit in the little box perches. There's bigger perches for the boys if they want the bigger boxes. The hens have got littler boxes. But I give them an option to sit in those spots. And I've learned over the years that the birds that sit towards the top of the perch, a lot of people think, well, that's going to be your best bird, the bird that sits at the top. That's not true. The birds that sit at the top will never be a follower. Never. That is the bird that is looking down, he or she is looking down. They can see everything in the loft. You've got to observe those things when you're out there feeding the birds. And for the most part, I don't spend a lot of time in with the young birds. I do probably a little bit more, but anyway, I'm going to go back to the racing part of it. once the birds are out and running well, then I do the little short tosses and I start working my way south. Just like everybody else, I take them to Toledo and I take them down to, Vader. It's a little farther down there. They're just little tosses that the birds know they're directional. I usually fan my birds out towards the east side, the Ording side, down to, let's say, Chehalis or whatever. And I can fan my birds in any direction. I do not believe you take your birds to one spot. If you don't take it there, your birds aren't going to break. So my theory is if my birds have to break from the flock, they're in the wrong flock. I don't want them in any old flock. I want them in the flock that's out front, that's leading that pack coming home. And just over the years, I've learned this, and so I'm helping these new guys because I see some real young superstars here that have a lot of potential, and I want to make sure they get the right word. You've seen on the results today where Vicki and Jerry handed out the awards. The Thorn one that I won. That didn't come easy. We had to work our butts off to do what we did. So don't think this is something that comes easy. The biggest difference in loft flying is it saves on tire wear, saves on fuel, saves on expense basically. When the loft flying is going well, the training starts. About a week before the first race, the training is done. No more training. They do not go on a crate. There would be a rare exception that I would take my birds on a 25-mile toss for some reason, but it would be rare. No more training. So in other words, my birds, their race day is going to be Saturday or Sunday, whatever day we're racing. On those days, my birds are given it all coming home to fly that race. Where other people are driving them down the freeway Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever days, because they have to train them, because they're not loft flying. So if they're not loft flying, they're not ready to train. So what you're basically doing is putting them on what I would call a rope, that the birds are going down to a location and they're just zipping straight home. They're zipping straight home. And once you have a situation out there where you have in July maybe the young fledglings coming out of the falcons, the peregrine falcons, the almighty peregrine falcon, these little critters, the parents are good hunters and they can dive and they can take a bird out of a flock if they want. The fledglings are not. And only 1 out of 10 of them are going to live, till breeding season. These fledglings love to chase our birds. They go into that flock and then they say, oh, there's 8 of them going that way. They chase after those 8. Hey, they might chase those 8 clear back to the race station, or 30, or 20. And there's not one. There could be a dozen of them that are chasing, these young falcons are chasing these birds, they're scattering them. So we got a liberator that releases our birds in the morning, and all of a sudden, now we got a window, because it's 60-some degrees in the morning, we're releasing our birds. So we got to get home before noon, or the heat's going to hit these birds, and it's going to hurt them badly. Well, guess what? We lost our window, because of those young falcons that scattered those birds all over. I have seen these with my own eyes. I've seen these little falcons operate that way. Not on videos, I've seen it with my birds. The more times my birds get dove on around the house, the happier I am. Because I know when it comes time on race day that they're 100 miles from home, or 200 miles from home, or 300 miles from home, that my birds are going to know how to handle it. They will know what the falcon is, and they know how to handle it. And the falcons can attack a group. You don't know what group it is. Is it the group in the back? Is it the group in the front? which group is it? And oh, by the way, there's probably 15 or 20 different groups of pigeons out there. Some should be going on the peninsula, some should be going east, some should be going to SeaTac, and all of them will be heading up north if they're, if they live up there. So anything between the Cascades and the Olympics is where you live. That's where the guys that fly the birds. So when these flocks are flying that way, now if you look at a race sheet, you will see, you got to learn to read the race sheet as far as how much time it takes from the first bird to the 30th bird, let's say, and the 60th bird or the 90th bird, and go right down the list, and you'll see these birds and what flock your birds were in. So long term, if you study it, and this is things you should do in the wintertime, this is what I do in the wintertime, basically, studying race sheets and stuff like that. But if you study it, you will see that these birds come home in different groups. If you notice this year on the battleground race, the very first race, everybody thought, oh, it's a pretty good race. The birds all came home. It was, almost 1,000 birds. Looked pretty good. But if you look at the race sheet real close, half of the birds in the concourse were coming home 3 to 4 hours late. 3 to 4 hours late for whatever reason they were coming home. My guess is that most of those birds were not prepared for the task that was, out ahead of them. The next week, boom, we got hit with whatever that scattered the birds, whether it's the falcons, whether it's lost pigeons that are down there. They're trying to join into a flock, and it spooks the birds where they think it's a falcon or something. So they scatter, but did they come back together? The ones that come back together are the ones that have been attacked before, and they know the drill. If they've never been attacked before, they're going down. And they're going to be in a tree, or in a carport, or in a garage, or under a car, or a truck that's sitting, hopefully. They're going to be everywhere, scattered all over the place. And then, of course, now the weather's getting warmer, Now the birds are dehydrated, they're thirsty, and now we got a mess. So we got all these birds that we worked so hard, a lot of people worked very hard to get them ready for the race, but when you have flyers that decide to, well, I didn't have time to get my birds trained real good, so I'll just go ahead and put them into battleground. Set them down there and see what happens. And then you got some flyers, older guys that have been around for 100 years, like myself, that say, they'll figure out how to get home. They're homing pigeons. Well, that is not true. First thing they have to be is they got to be a homing pigeon, and then you have to find out if they're going to be a racing pigeon. The racing pigeon part is going to be up to you. If you don't have a system, and I'm going to recommend this to all the new flyers, or even anybody old flyers that care to listen. Can you guys hear me back here? Okay, good.
What do you have to look at us?
Yeah, pick you guys out. I'll figure out something for you guys. Anyway, the birds that, I lost my train of thought now.
Homing and racing.
Huh?
Homing and racing.
Homing and racing. So the homing pigeons go to the racing form. You're going to find out what birds are. You need to ask yourself a question. Are your birds a leader, or are they a follower? And if they're a follower, that's on you. If they're a leader, that's also on you. So it's a good thing. You have to choose what it is you want to do. You have to choose what works for you, your family. Young people that have small children, some people have small children and grandchildren, both. We have spouses, different things that work for our family. So whatever it is we can do for our family, you've got to incorporate the pigeons into that. If you can do it, then go for it. But if you can't do it, you've got to figure out what can I do with this sport right now. My suggestion is keep your numbers down. try to get a hold of the best birds you can get a hold of, but don't spend a whole bunch of money. Do not go out and spend a whole bunch of money on birds. And formulate a system that you learn from Jerry, Karl, Wade, Bruce, Don, some of the guys that have flown birds very, very well. Jack, Glenn, I'm not going to, it's everybody. So, Michelle, I'm not going to leave you out. And get some ideas from those people. So, if you want to learn, go to their house. Look at their birds. Look at their lofts. Well, why is it that that person is always has birds every year at the top of the PSF, or does well at the 400, or whatever the situation is? Go look. Ask them. Some of the guys that have been around a long time that have pretty much given it up as far as learning to fly pigeons. I'm in a bad location. I can't. Gee, that's a horrible location. Karl, he wins a lot. He's in a good spot. Florin, he's the one. He's in a good spot. He wins a lot. Yeah, they're a good spot for our birds. That's for sure. But when the birds hit town, that kind of proves to you that there are superior birds to that good pigeon and that average pigeon. That there are some superior pigeons. But watch on the race sheet. And I can't emphasize this enough. Watch the race sheet. Look for the birds that consistently come week in and week out. You don't see that in one-lot races. You see a bird that wins $100,000, and that's a true champion, and all it did is win a race. It happened to be a whole bunch of money on it, so that's good for them. But the money doesn't make the bird. It's the competition. And if a guy has his birds, the breeder loft set and genetically sound, and his race systems, set to where he can prove his birds, now you can go get those one-lot races, and you probably do pretty well. But right now, you might as well go buy a lotto ticket right now. It's the same thing. So you're just putting the bird in there. So if I grabbed the bird, and I don't want to shame anybody here, but if I went over and grabbed the bird in this cage and pulled it out, I'm going to pull about the birds you're bringing. So I'm going to look at this bird, and I handle it. This bird has, a nice wing, good balance, and a good head. Now, this has everything that I would want in a racing pigeon, but what I need in the racing pigeon, I can't see in this bird. I can in those, because I've looked at those, and I know the judging standards and the different things you need for a showbird. And the judging standards say everything you need to know about a showbird. These birds are in this cage over here are people that have put a lot of pride in their birds and their the body weight and the molt and different things they have. And those birds are in there because these people looked at them and decided, I think the judge is going to like this bird. I think they're going to like him. But when it comes to racing, if you want to find out if it's a good racer, you better race it. And if you think that me or anybody else can look at a bird and say, that's going to be the best bird ever. Yeah, I can say that. But hope is not a strategy. It is not. We all have hope for a lot of different things, but hoping that a bird is going to be a good racer because now I'll tell you one thing I'll go back to the pedigree real quick on these birds. I mentioned that I want winners on the parents and the grandparents. What I do there is I'm eliminating question marks that are in my pedigree. So I'm not going to grab another bird here, but if I grab a bird here and I look at it and I say, oh, I like the way it handles. I didn't see any of this. I didn't see any of this here. I like the way it handles. I like its wing. I like the balance. This bird's going to breed winners. Now take it home and breed from it. Well, guess what? That is one big question mark. And that's what I learned 40-some years ago is you got to get away from that. You got to stop doing that. Follow the genetics of the bird, whether it's a performance bird. So what you're doing is you're eliminating the question marks within the genetics, pedigree and the genetics in the pedigree. You're eliminating the question marks. These are solid birds that have won, that have bred winners, multiple winners. So your chances of getting a pair of star racers, or 3 or 4 of them or whatever, are so much better by knowing what those genetics are in those pigeons, that they're a winning background. And these people in Europe, if you think that we are pigeon nuts, these people over there are professionals. They do it for a living. And they have veterinarians, and they have scientists, and they do, they measure feed to, the protein level, carbohydrate level, all the different things. They have started this whole program, so a lot of the birds that come over here to the States from the European guys, Gabby Van Danneville, I'll tell you what my birds are. Rick Cools is a top middle distance flyer in Belgium. That's what my birds are, Rick Cools. Gabby Van Danneville is a mentor of Rick Cools. Rudy DeSere is a guy that flies another, Van Danneville is his mentor. And his birds are more middle distance to longer distance. And then I have some of the Van Loon stock, which is the what they call the Aladdin line. If you take these families, 3 or 4 families of birds, and I interchange them through my breeding program, and I don't do all Rick Cools and all Rudy DeSere and all Aladdin. They're a family mixed because genetically there's winners in all the paperwork and all the pedigrees. So what I'm doing is I'm eliminating the question marks in that pedigree, because if I looked at a pedigree and it just had a bird's number down, didn't say anything about the bird, just a bird's number all the way through it, it's all question marks. It's all question marks. So what you want to learn is going back to when you start with your birds, figure out, learn how to fly the pigeons. If you want to take some local pigeons from guys and fly them, that's fine. But don't spend a lot of money because you don't have a system yet. And once you have a system, and then you take their birds and you fly them, and all of a sudden you're starting to get the hang of things, and you're 10 minutes behind. And then another, you come and see it, you can ask me, or whatever, and I'll be honest with you. And I'll be bluntly honest with you. Sometimes if I go to your loft and I see something that's, not right. But lofts, I just mentioned this a little while ago. There was a guy that wrote a book way back when, early 1900s, maybe, Jules Gallas, I think his name was. And it said, the title of his book was 101 Ways to Fly Pigeons. And the book's still around. I got a copy. I got one from Bruce. It's still around, but you don't think that guy was kidding? All those years ago, that 101 ways to fly pigeons. You think there's only one way to fly the pigeons? Boy, I got news for you. There are a bunch, and you got to sort through it. But you got to figure out what works for you, your family, your job. Biggest pain we're having right now, we're losing members. A lot of it is losses because people don't know how to fly their pigeons. Loft flying is preparation. Without preparation, you have nothing. You have nothing other than discouragement. That I'm discouraged. I lost my bird. I had my favorite bird in there, and I lost it. This is what you have to go through. Or the hawk has a pile of feathers in the yard there. It was your best bird. Those things hurt. They really hurt, but you don't want to give up. If you prepare your birds to go out and fly, the hawk will kill less birds. The falcon will kill less birds. The falcon mostly will scare the birds. The hawk will do a lot of killing of the birds. So you have to teach your birds to fly, so that they can fly, get away from the raptors. So when it comes down to it, like my team that flew in 2025, this year that they had no fear of raptors. It's a little feathered friend, weighs about 14 ounces. It has a unique respiratory system. It has 9 air sacs to assist the 2 lungs that are in the pigeon. The bones are hollow. The feathers on that little bird, there's 10,000 of them. The molt of when the birds are flying. If you're flying birds that are molting, that's wrong. You need to figure out a system, light, dark, what do you want to do? Go ask Laura, go ask Karl, go ask George, go ask Don, go ask somebody, but figure it out. But don't fly your birds when they're half naked. Don't do that. Don't starve your birds. Don't starve your birds at all. What happens is when you starve the birds is their energy level will be compromised. And if you're flying a 200-mile race and you fed them 100 miles worth of grain because you starved them, you're 100 miles short. You just ran your bird out of gas at 100 miles. It's got to fly 200 miles. So here it comes, an hour late. But by golly, that bird's going to trap so fast you can't believe it. And that's where the people make a big mistake. I'm going to starve my birds so when they get home, they're going to trap real fast. No, that was me 40-some years ago. I figured the faster they trap, the more they're going to win the race. Not knowing that, well, first of all, I got to worry about getting it home and getting it in the loft as fast as I can. Okay. If you have it imprinted into those birds, they know where to land. They know that when they come home, you go right in. And that's what my birds do. You let them out, they're out, they fly. When they come down, they're in the loft. And they're done for the day. And I don't let them out in the evening usually, just in the morning. Some places out in the country, down where Glenn and the guys live, it's more of a country environment out there. They let their birds out and fly all winter long, all the time. Fly all day long, as much as they want to fly. And after a while, the hawks and the falcons, they don't bother them because they can't get them. They're too good a shape. And their birds know that. And the raptors know that. So they could lose 2 or 3 birds a year, total. Maybe a little bit more. Look at it this way: if you have 40 birds on your young bird team, and a falcon comes through, it dies on your birds, a little bit more. You're trying to loft fly birds in big numbers. If you can get the one loft races, if you watch a video on a one loft bird, a loft where the birds are outside, you'll see 1,000 birds on the ground. You'll see 1,000 birds in the air. You'll see 300 or 400 in the loft. Maybe they didn't get them chased out in time. They're all over the place. So some are flying, some are not. Those birds, at the end, that 3,000 birds will be down to about somewhere between 700 and 1,200 birds in a period of time. All those birds are being flown around the house, are taken down the road, all coming to the same loft. Now think about this. 3,000 birds, and you got 1,200 left. 1,800 birds are gone. And they all could follow each other home at some point in training. Now that's what you need to think about. That's where birds that are not conditioned enough to keep up, if they can't keep up with the front runners, they're probably going to be gone. Because if they have to be the one that has to lead the way, they can't do it. Those are the poor pigeons, and those are the average pigeons. And some of it could be health, but a lot of it, you'll never see a one loft race of 3,000 birds, and when you get ready to ship it, there's 2,800. You'll never see that. What you'll never see is backyard flyers that start with 50 birds at the end of the year. They've got 45, except for Michelle. You just don't see it often. But some of the top flyers that know what to do out there, they'll know. So for you new guys, this is my advice is learn the system, what you want to fly. You want to, believe in yourself, believe in your system, and stick with it, and don't change. In my loft, I don't change anything from the first race to the last race. I don't even put them in a different crate during the race season. When I went up to the Seattle Club to ship the PSF and the bonus with them, I took our own crates. My birds have never been in an aluminum crate. Does it make a difference? I don't know. But I'm not going to take a chance. Obviously, I think they're okay, but I put them in, they're used to my crate, the wooden crates that we have. We have crates that were 30, 40 years old. And that's where my birds are comfortable in there. Your crates are right or wrong. This is not, I'm not saying anything about that, but your crates are open to the top. Our crates are not open to the top. They're more tightened. And we've always done it that way with a visible glass in the front so that the birds will come to the front. When I see a bird sitting in the window of that crate, it seems to me, I just don't understand this, but it seems to me it's one of the top birds that always sits by that window. They want to know what's going on outside and look around. If you walk in your loft and your birds are all up on the perches, they're all happy and they've eaten and everything. Take a little, take your finger and move it like this. Look at the birds just watching your finger, continuously. Other birds get bored, they just look away. But some of the birds, keep looking at that. Those are the real good birds. Now, some of the characteristics of a bird that I really like, a feather. I'm big on the feathers. Number one, it's got to be slick. Got to be, the bloom. It's got to roll off the feather. The eyes got to be bright. The wattle's got to be chalky white. Be careful what you put in the water. It doesn't turn your wattle, discolored or anything. And the bird's got to be able to loft fly. If I knew that something was wrong with my bird, I'll know it by loft flying. If you were just training your birds down the road and not loft flying, you could be taking your birds on a 40, 50, 60, 70 mile pass. There's something wrong with it. It's gone. But you would know that there's something wrong with that when you're loft flying with your birds. Now, some people will tell you, oh, loft flying, that's not the same as training. Not the same. It is the same. And the birds will fly differently. Now, here's what my birds do. They don't fly around the house and circle around the trees. 40 years ago, yeah, circled around the loft like this. I'm just getting dizzy out there, flying around. My birds today will take off and go, and then all I see during that hour of whatever they're flying will be heading north, straight, they're racing. They're racing each other. They're spread out and they're racing. 20 minutes go by. Here they come, over there, going that way. 20 more minutes. Wait, here they come. They're racing back and forth. And that's when come Friday, Saturday, you've done your job. And those birds are ready to go. Now, if they go up there and fly an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, slow it down a little bit. I've had days where my birds could only go out and fly 2 times a week. That was all they could go out because of their exercise. Some days I said, okay, I'll go 3. And early on, 4 was fine. Hanging right around 45 minutes to hour. Early these functions like what we got going here, where we try to raise money, and we got 14,000 in our trucking fund right now. We're going to put some more in there today from this. And if we reach a little deficit once in a while, we'll pay that deficit. But for the most part, everybody's got to fly their pigeons and have fun doing it. If it's not fun for you, don't do it. But if it is fun for you, hang in there, do what you can do. Try to get along with everybody. Some clubs are all different. But I think when it's all said and done, we all need each other to keep this thing going. And that goes for across the country for the most part. The one loft guys, the backyard racing guys, they're working together. You'll see one loft guys in this room right now. There's guys in here right now. There's one backyard guys obviously in here as well. We're all together. One loft guys are looking for a bird over here. They're going to try to get some, they're going to win some money with this thing. Some of these birds in here, I should say. And the backyard guys, you're looking to improve your birds here and there, but when you go to an auction, my recommendation is always look for the younger birds that are coming in. Be careful of the bird that comes in, an older bird, unless you know something about the bird, or if a guy's put a lot of siblings in the breeder loft already, then that's fine, but go with the younger ones. They're the ones that are the safest bet. It gives you more time for whatever money you spend on those birds. So. What kind of questions we have? Any?
Yeah, thanks, Karl. Can we give him a round of applause? So this time, before I make the announcements of the class and show winners, we'll take a few questions.
Yeah.
I think I missed exactly what did you say is how do you initially get your birds to fly at the loft? I mean, you flag them?
No.
How do you get them to get
Initially to fly will be to let them out, get them going, let them know that once they go up to fly, they're going to come down in 15 minutes or so. That's not good enough. So you got to have the boards on the traps. You got to go out there and you got to tell them, let's go. You'll teach them that command. They'll go off and they'll fly. Some will voluntarily do it, and some will just say, I'm not going anywhere. But you kind of chase them up a little bit. I've had situations where the birds would want to fly out to the yard a little bit. So I'll go over and grab a grass rake, and I don't want to see me doing this, but I'll walk over behind the breeder loft and I'll just stick that thing up in the air like that. You know, what the hell was that? And off they go. But they don't know I did it. But I would never let them, I never scare them off the roof. I never skin like that. I have a stick that's out by my loft that controls my young birds at all times when they're out. And I walk the stick around them, over them, I touch them. So when they come home, when they come, I guide them in and just, push them in the loft. At first, you have to do that. After a while, they just trap in. They just go right in. So the loft flying is something that you got to work at. You got to work at it, and you got to get them to where. Now in Europe, I'll tell you what Sergeant Van Elshacker does. He takes a flag, goes out, and lets the birds out. He walks in there, he sticks a pole in the ground. It's a flag, and in 1 hour, 45 minutes, he goes and pulls the flag. As soon as he pulls that flag, those birds are knocking his hat off. He's going in. They're going in. That's what he teaches them to do. So he's asking them to do that, and that's what they're doing. If you give those birds a chance, they're smarter than the average bear. Not all of them, but the one you'll find out which ones are the better ones. But the better line of birds you have, the ones that are really true racers, you're going to find this out as you get older. Those birds that are just flat out racers, and good luck trying to beat them. I mean, they're just. And if you get a loft full of some of those, every year we're hoping to get 1 or 2 or 3 good birds. I mean, you raise 60 young birds, and all of a sudden, after the race season's over with, you're wondering why did I feed those other 55 birds? I had 5 birds that did pretty good. I'm not talking mine, but these 5 birds did pretty good. Why am I feeding those other 55 birds? Because they're probably just followers. But some of those birds could be not young bird liars. And here's one more tip for you. When you lose young birds, you're going to lose the cockbirds. You're going to lose the birds that are slower developing. You're going to lose the birds that are slower developing. You're going to be the cockbirds. The ones that got the nice wattles, big, beautiful looking bird, born in January or February, looks like $1 million. He's gone. And that little scrawny youngster that's just learning the ropes, he's a good one. He's still there, but that other bird's gone. So don't think that the older is better than young birds. Because those birds that are, cockbirds are, this year when I pulled my team off, right away I pulled the cocks over just through the 30 hens. Those cockbirds right now look like $1 million. They were trained well, and they were raced to Battleground and Salem. And they're ready to go next year in Old Birds. So, anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Romer, I'm give Romer, most folks have met him, give him a chance to step up and say what he's up to with the AU.
Hello guys, thank you, and thank you for having me here. And most of you knows me through my YouTube channel. I'm promoting the sport, and I'm promoting the sport because I would like to share this wonderful hobby to other people. And the membership, we know, the membership with of the club is declining. And when I conduct, interviews, loft visits, and everything, so when I ask them, why pigeon racing is important to you, there's only one answer. There's lots of answer. How do you raise your pigeon? 100, 1,100, or 1,000 ways to fly the pigeon. But I interviewed lots of people already around the country, from Texas, Florida, Utah, Idaho, and here. When I asked them why pigeon racing is important or special to you, the answer is that they give me peace of mind. They are my emotional support animals. This hobby is giving me emotional stability or something like that. That is why I started the project, the Racing Pigeons for Military Veterans. And I am a veteran myself, Navy. And who are the veterans here, by the way? Marines? What branch? Air Force? Army. Marines? Keith, Marines? Army? Well, I have to give you my pin. Thank you for your service. Here you go. Who else? Well, thank you for your service, guys. So, the RPMB project is, as an emotional support leisure, we introduced this to the military, Gold Star members, and also to the first responders. Okay? And we introduced the sport so that they can use this as their emotional support leisure. And I reached out to the AU, and they returned my email and invited me to attend the convention. Let me just say this. If you are a fancier, I would really highly suggest to attend at least once in your life the convention. So I attended the convention, and they invited me to introduce the RPMB project, or my idea in regards with recruiting, encouraging the military veterans, Gold Star family members, and first responders to use this sport as their emotional support leisure. And I went to the board meeting just to introduce it, and they said, we like your idea. Would you like to become a non-voting member of the AU? And who am I to refuse? And then I said, what am I gonna get out of it? We will give you the support that we could give you. And the support is that the video camera. I'm not getting paid by the AU, but at least, with my effort of producing better quality videos, interviewing you guys, sharing to the other people the beauty of the racing pigeon, they did provide the support. And the main goal of the AU now is to increase the membership of each club. And just to let you know, if the problem is the clocking system, because this is the #1 problem of many new fancier is the clocking system. Reach out to the Help a Beginner program, because they will loan you a clocking system. And also, I would like to encourage each loft to have at least 2 or 4 white pigeons, so that if there's a military ceremonies like funerals, weddings, and everything, if we could ask for your assistance for the pigeon release, we can do that. And again, thank you all, and to those who serve, thank you so much, and thank you everybody.
Thank you, Romer. So here are the prizes. Can you hold your applause till the end, if you would? So first, this is best in class. Flown young hen would be Vicky Strand. Unflown young hen, AJ.